Hi, my name is Mike and I'd like to welcome you to the demonstration for AquaDam Incorporated. We're going to set up some 3-foot dams and show you exactly how it's done. The AquaDams are very light, considering the gallons that you're going to get in them. We're going to do our demonstration with these 3 bags. They are all 3 foot by 20 feet long AquaDams, baffled with color. Now one of them is a double closed ended. That means that it's freestanding. I'll show you. Here we're going to start with the double closed ended dam. We have to have something to elevate the fill tubes. In this case, we don't have a bank. You at home could use a dirt bank if you want. We're going to start with this bag right here. Is that good?
Okay. Cutting the what?
Cutting the strings. Got to make sure to pick them up because some people don't like you to leave behind strings. I'm going to take the wrap off to reveal the AquaDam. We've installed a regular at-home gardening hose for homeowners. We today, though, are going to use a standard 3-inch fill hose. Take the strings off, pull your hoses to the side, give it a roll. Now that we've revealed the fill tubes, we're going to fold the collar back. The collar's for connections. We're going to finish unrolling the bag and try and place it directly where we want it and make it look real beautiful. You can see this particular bag has 2 collars on it. This is just a tube that we've slid over the end so that we can make a connection. Now we can unfold it. As you see, I have 2 tubes here. That is because this bag consists of 2 inner tubes that sit side by side to keep themselves from rolling. Now we're ready to hook up the hoses to the AquaDam. Up the hoses and getting ready. We're going to fill them here. It's kind of windy out here, so the water's going to help tremendously in holding it down. Fire it up. This tube is running over here into this side of the AquaDam. Sometimes when you're installing the AquaDam, the hose tends to kink when we put the hose in there. So you must get over here and massage the hose and make sure that it is freely flowing. So sometimes if you can't get the hoses to break free, you have to turn the pumps down to release the pressure on the hose. It makes it much easier to massage it and get the kink out of the hose. Now, usually that'll tend to work, but if it doesn't, then you can try giving a little tug on the end of the hose over there. And I'll show you that. Okay, I'm having a problem with it, okay? So I'm gonna come over here and I'm just gonna give it a little tug. And that right there usually pops your kink out. There are no kinks in this one. Now that I'm ready, I'm gonna signal for the water to get turned back up to high. It's been 2 minutes. We already have 8-10 inches of water in this AquaDam, 20 feet long. This AquaDam is good to go for now. We'll go ahead and shut it off when it gets full. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and take another AquaDam and make a connection here. Comes undone. So in this case, the AquaDam will roll that way. So I want to turn this around. And now it will unroll this way. So it's now 6.5 minutes into filling it. And we got a good 2 feet on the bag. Now that we have water flowing out of the AquaDam, it's a good indication that it's close to full, so we're going to start turning the pumps off. We're going to start by turning this side off, and we're going to disconnect it, pull our hose out, and we're going to elevate this so the water can no longer spill out of this end. Now, usually you can still fill from the other side. If you leave this hose in, you can still fill the whole bag from this because it's one continuous tube that starts here, comes down, loops around the end, and then comes back down the other side. So I'm going to start disconnecting the hoses. I'm going to pull this side out because it's not needed anymore. Now that I'm done with this side, I'm going to fold it in half to give it elevation, to keep the water down in the bag. Stick some duct tape around here, tape the two together, and they'll probably stand up. Stick one stick of duct tape around this, and that'll hold it. Now that I give it some elevation, I'm going to stand here and hold it until it is as full as I want it to be.
Start the pumps.
Start the pumps. This is called topping off the AquaDam. On this short of an AquaDam and small of an AquaDam, it takes seconds and we're already done. We are 12 minutes into the process and we have the first AquaDam installed fully. Go ahead and pull the hose out, Rick, and disconnect it. Now I'm going to put this bag to bed. I'm going to pull this hose out. We've equipped this bag with garden hose that we can fill it with later if needed.
Now we're gonna.
Now for more stability, I'm going to tape the two together. Okay, I'm done. I barely got wet, I'm not dirty, I'm ready to move on to the next connection here. Now you can see, now that the AquaDam is full, we now have an empty sleeve, which we call the collar, which makes connections on the end of the AquaDam. Now with this amazing piece of material, we can make these an infinite length. Now I'm going to start setting up the next AquaDam here. I've got to do the same process by cutting the strings, taking the wrap off, unrolling the AquaDam, and situating the fill tubes. Now I'm going to roll it back to move the AquaDam closer to the dam. You've noticed I've left the wrap down. It doesn't hurt to leave the wrap down. It gives it a good layer of protection on the ground. You can also use the wrap to get around harsh obstacles like fence posts, sharp sticks, posts, etc. Material itself to sit up against the AquaDam. You can see where it stops right here. We're going to want this material to be up, up against it on the inside of the mallet. So this here will be a great position. Now that I've got my position, I'm going to pleat it back and prepare the fill tubes. Rick? So what we're going to do to make this connection, we have to start by cutting holes in just the collar of that AquaDam right there. And we will take these tubes, bunch them up, and stick them up through there. We're going to start by bunching up the collar. We are going to make a connection now. You can see the end of the AquaDam right here. We have the shroud going around the AquaDam right here. This is the connection collar. Now, as we're going to shove our fill tubes up here, we're going to have somewhere to exit. So, I'm going to stick my hand up here, come all the way up. Now, very carefully, you cannot cut the AquaDam on the inside. You only cut the collar itself. Push up on the collar with your fingers. Start with a little teeny hole and go sideways. You don't want to go straight down and puncture the AquaDam. And then you can, with your finger, pull your arm out lift up on it and make a hole big enough that a bunched up AquaDam inner tube can come up through. In this case, I'm going to leave this as something to hold on to maybe later. Now the tubes will come up through these holes that I've cut into the material, just like my hands are. And then we'll take the rest of the collar and we'll pull the slack out nice and tight. So, I'm going to prepare the fill tubes here now. I gotta lay them out nice and straight. Try and keep anything from bunching up too much. And then, in a neat fashion, I'm going to pleat them up so that they can be shoved into them holes that we have in our first AquaDam. Put one more piece of tape here to give me a guide on where to stop when I pull the fill tubes up into the holes.
Now lift out.
Now this AquaDam inner tube is ready for installation. I'm going to give me a guide. I'm going to squish all this together. Put another piece. Now I'm going to make the connection. We're going to grab the material. Make sure that you don't lose the material. We're going to fold these back. And now I'm going to pull the material into the collar. see how close I'm getting the connected AquaDam to the existing AquaDam. You also have to make sure that you have plenty of slack to make up for this groove right here. Now the reason for filling this groove is because if you're trying to do flood protection or any kind of water assistance, then this right here could create a leak if you don't fill it. It's very important that you make sure you do not twist your tubes. If you do twist them before they go up there, then it'll make it almost impossible to shove any kind of fill hose down into them. Pull that tube up until he sees that second piece of tape I put on there. There it is. Then you want to come back down here and make sure you got plenty of slack for your corner. That groove that I was talking about. Fill tube number 2. Now that we have the attaching AquaDam nice and snug against the full AquaDam, we're going to pull the collar out and make it look pretty. Now what this collar is going to do is it's going to keep those fill tubes from rolling off of that fill tube, off of that AquaDam. Hoses. You guys at home, it'll probably be garden hose, which would be way easier. Now to slide our hoses inside these fill tubes, we must take off the duct tape that we previously put on to give us more room. After we're done putting our hose in, we're going to re-put the duct tape on there to hold the tube together to make it look like that when we're done. First, I'm going to shove my arm inside this hole to open it up and give me a path to put the hose down into. Now I'm going to proceed with shoving the hose inside the tube. It'll make it easier and firmer if you fold the hose in half. Makes it a little more stiffer.
Okay.
Now I'm going to insert the hose. put duct tape back around it to keep the hose from coming back out. You want to make sure not to get your duct tape too tight, otherwise it'll choke your hoses. One hose ready for pumping. Proceeding with taking the tape off of the second fill tube, and I'm going to shove another hose into this side. It's the same theory as the first one. It's one tube that starts here, goes down the AquaDam, turns around, comes back up this side. When you're shoving your hose in, you got to make sure you get your hose down far enough to fill the bag. If you shove it down to here, there's so much tension here that it could cause the tube to fill up behind the AquaDam. In this case, it would make the water exit the fill tubes. It would not be going into the AquaDam cavity, and you would have a big wet mess.
Go for it.
Tape's off, and we're ready to shove in the next fill hose, which I have right here in my hand. It's going to be the same process. I'm going to fold the fill hose in half. I got to shove my arm down in there first and make me a path. It's got to go down far enough for the water to go into the cavity of the AquaDam and fill the inner tube. Now I'm going to shove my hand in there.
Where's your hand at?
Right here.
Say it.
I've got my hand this far inside the cavity, and I can already feel that the tube inside has less pressure on it than right here, and it's opening up. So I've got it open enough. I'm going to take my hose, fold it in half, and shove it down the same path that I just pulled my arm out of. You can see how tight this is, so it's really important that you get this hose nice and stiff. The way to do that is to bend it in two. It is now far enough. I'm going to pull the plastic back and tape up the second fill tube. This AquaDam is now ready to fill. The connection is made. Now I'm going to have Rick start these pumps up on low. We want to make sure that our fill hoses do not fall off. Go ahead, Rick.
Take all the kinks out of the hose.
Got water in the bag. I'm going to check and make sure that the water's entering the cavities correctly. You want to fill the ends of your hoses and make sure that you got plenty of water coming down. We're good here. Both sides are running excellent. So now I'm going to have Rick turn the pumps from idle to full. The start of this process, 254. So, you can see if you have elevation issues, water does want to roll downhill. You can see the big bubble here. This is created from water wanting to roll downhill. This isn't bad. Our baffle skirt will hold this in place. If your elevation gets too steep, then you're going to want to brace up your AquaDam with sticks. So, if your elevation was too steep, you're going to want to grab 2 sticks.
Go.
So now, if you have really bad elevation and your bag insists on rolling downhill, or if you have any thought whatsoever that your bag might roll downhill, you want to grab 2 sticks. These are a great insurance policy. Just take one long stick, shove it under the bag as far as you can, lift up on it, brace it up with a shorter stick. Get a couple of these, about every 3 feet. If you didn't get enough slack, it could cause this fill tube to suck down back into the bag. Now, if this is flared out too much, or even if there's just too much pressure on it, it could cause it to bite into your tube plastic here, which will create a hole. So you want to make sure that there's no tension on this. If there is, you want to push it down in there and make sure that it doesn't cut your plastic on the way down.
How often?
The fuller it gets, the harder it is to do. So it's important to check it a few times during installation. $254, and it is now $259. Each of these AquaDams, being 3 feet high, 20 feet long, consists of 2,000 gallons each. Now we've got water exiting our tube, so I'm going to proceed with shutting the water off. I'm going to shut one side off and elevate the tube to stop the water from coming out. pull the hose out. This is no longer needed. Wrong side. I'm going to take this tube off and we're going to proceed with popping off the bag again. I still have this one pump going on idle. You can see as soon as I lift this hose up, the water stopped coming out of this end. It's now, gravity is forcing it into that cavity. Now it's time to put this back to bed. Great. I'm going to leave this hose in it, that way I can fill it if needed later. I'm going to just disconnect it from my fill hose. I'm going to sand it up. Put a piece of tape around it. Brace the two together. Put another piece of tape. Now it's very important that if you have any kind of suction hoses whatsoever sticking out of these fill tubes, you must elevate them, otherwise they can start siphon, and tomorrow morning you'll come out and this bag will be flat because the water has completely siphoned out of your bag. Now I'm going to roll this up, shove it in between these so you can't see it. And as you can see, that's 2,000 feet, 2,000 gallons of water, one man, maybe a half hour work, ready. Now you see how we can make the AquaDam in infinite length. It's beautiful. You can see the connection here. You can see where the tube comes and sits up on top of the existing AquaDam. And it forms around and goes up in the hole. You can see the figure here. Now, if you leave too much space here, it can cause a hole. So make sure to get that. So by a hole, I mean causing seepage to go underneath the AquaDam, not through it. So the beauty about the double closed-ended AquaDam, which we call a plug in this situation, is the fact that because it's freestanding and we got collars on both sides of it, we can go both directions off of it. As opposed to a dam where you'd have to elevate it up the bank is it. The other way you can go infinite, but with this you can just go both ways. So the reason for going both ways is if you're trying to make up for time and you're trying to get thousands of feet, you can have two separate teams running two different directions at the same time. Now we turn this small 3x20 baffled with color AquaDam that I can pick up with these into a 1,000/2,000 gallon bag within a half hour. This here in front of me is a 50-foot, 4-foot high AquaDam. It's got a baffle in the middle and it's double closed ended. We don't have a collar on this because we don't plan on making a connection. This is the closed end of the AquaDam. On the inside, we have a tube that does a U-turn here. Now, to Now because of this, you must fill a brand new AquaDam from both sides at the same time. You have to open this pleat up. If you don't, then you could cause one side to overfill and pop from the inside out. Now I'll show you another few methods of installing the AquaDams. Here we have a 30-inch high AquaDam. You can see it does not have a baffle in it. Makes it a little bit more wavy. We've started this dam by elevating the fill tubes. We stuck 3 bars in the ground, leaned it up against the pallet, raised our bars up for extra security, tied our fill tubes up, filled her up, no problem. One tube, your hose would go right in here, and we actually have a pump hooked up to this side. This is what we call the post-pallet method for supporting the end of an AquaDam. Have a single open-ended AquaDam. Means one end's open like this and the other end is sewn shut. The open end has to be elevated to hold. Over here we have our third method of installing the AquaDam. We've elevated our fill tubes using a dirt bank. Basically the same thing as the pallet method, only this would be existing already and you wouldn't have to make nothing. So we had a dump truck bring us in 10 cubic yards of gravel. One dump truck, and what we're doing here is simulating a natural bank that you would find on your own property. They have so much access to the inner tube. You can shove whatever you want inside this tube and tape it closed, as opposed to the double closed-ended dam, which we have back here. This one, on the other hand, will only have one bolt installed in the dam. Now these dams here, we can actually get 99% of water out and roll it up and move it, no problem. As opposed to the double closed-ended dam, you always have an inch or two of water on the bottom of it, which makes it hard to roll it up. Because we have such a skinny bank to come up, we've customized the AquaDam to narrow up as it goes up the bank. We've actually sewed a pleat into the shroud that goes all the way up, and this keeps our